All right, today we're going to travel way back in time. I'm talking about the ancient city of Babylon, a place of just immense wealth and wonder. We're here to uncover a set of financial secrets that are, believe it or not, just as powerful today as they were thousands of years ago. And it's all wrapped up in the story of one man who went from a humble scribe to the richest man in the entire city. So, how did he do it? It all kicks off with a simple question. A group of men go up to their old childhood friend, Arkad. They're like, look, we played the same games, we had the same teachers, we work just as hard as you do, so how is it that you're fabulously wealthy and we can barely feed our families? They just had to know his secret. What was it that made him so different? Well, Arkad's story really begins with a bargain. See, back when he was just a scribe, he worked these super long hours but had absolutely nothing to show for it. The thing is, unlike his friends, he had this burning desire to change his fate, and his big chance was right around the corner. That chance came when a super rich moneylender named Algamish needed a long legal text copied overnight. I mean, an impossible task, right? But Arkad saw his opening. Instead of just asking for more money, he made a deal. He said, I will work all night, I'll get this done, if you teach me how to get rich. He was willing to trade his labor not for a few coins, but for real wisdom. So, after this absolutely grueling night of work, Arkad does it. He finishes the job. And Algamish, he's impressed and he's ready to hold up his end of the bargain. He leans in and shares the single most important piece of financial advice he knows. So, what was this huge, life-changing secret? A part of all I earned was mine to keep. Arkad was, confused. He's like, but isn't everything I earn mine to keep? And Algamish just scoffs. He says, far from it. Don't you pay the guy who makes your clothes, the guy who makes your sandals? You pay everyone, except yourself. You're basically a slave, just laboring for others. And that right there was the first massive mind shift. And this brings us right to the very first law of gold. Pay yourself first. It sounds simple, but it's a profound shift in thinking. Before you pay anyone else a single coin, a part of what you earn is yours to keep. So the next question is, how much? How much do you keep? Well, Algamish gave Arkad a crystal clear starting point. Pay yourself no less than 1/10 of everything you earn. So if you earn 10 coins, one of those gets put aside for you before you do anything else. That simple little act, that is the seed from which your tree of wealth is going to grow. Then Algamish uses this really powerful metaphor. He tells Arkad, look, don't just let that money sit there. He says every coin you save is like a slave that has to go to work for you. And every little bit of profit that slave earns, that's its child, which can also be put to work. This is basically the ancient Babylonian way of explaining compound interest. So Arkad gets to it. He starts saving 1/10 of everything he makes. A year goes by, and Algamish comes back to see how he's doing. Arkad's super proud, tells him he's saved up a nice little sum. But as we're about to find out, saving the money, that's just step one. The next part is learning how not to lose it. Arkad, all excited to put his little army of slaves to work, tells Algamish he gave his entire year's savings to his friend, Asmer the brickmaker. See, Asmer was traveling to this far-off land and promised he'd buy these rare Phoenician jewels and sell them for a massive profit. On paper, it sounds like a pretty great plan, right? Yeah, Algamish was not impressed. His response was harsh, but man, was it true. He basically growled, would you go to the baker to ask about the stars? And the lesson here is crucial. You only seek advice from people who have proven expertise in that specific field. And just as Algamish predicted, Asmer came back with a bag of worthless glass. Arkad's entire savings, poof, gone. Now, even though he was devastated, Arkad started over. He went right back to saving that 1/10 of his earnings, but this time he'd learned his lesson about expertise. He invested his new savings with a shield maker to buy bronze, and the shield maker paid him a regular rental fee for using it. It was a solid investment, and it started generating a little stream of income. But Arkad made another mistake. When Algamish asked what he was doing with that rental income, Arkad happily told him he was spending it all on these big feasts with honey and wine. He even bought a fancy new tunic. Algamish just laughed and pointed out the new problem. He said, you are eating the children of your savings. Instead of reinvesting the profits, he was just consuming them.
And this just perfectly lays out the two painful lessons Arkad had to learn the hard way. First, trusting his money to the brickmaker taught him to seek advice only from experts. Second, spending his profits on feasts taught him that for wealth to truly grow, its earnings have to be put back to work too. You can't just eat your children.
So after years of this trial and error, Arkad finally got it. He didn't just learn a few tips. He had mastered a complete system for acquiring money, keeping money, and using money to make more money. And here they are, the 3 simple laws that made Arkad the richest man in Babylon. Number 1, keep at least a tenth of what you earn for yourself. Number 2, get advice only from people with proven wisdom and experience. And number 3, make sure your savings and the earnings from those savings are always working for you. Once Arkad really proved he'd mastered the system, Algamish saw he was ready for some real responsibility. He actually made Arkad a partner in his huge business enterprises. And when Algamish passed away, Arkad inherited a big piece of his mentor's estate. You see, he earned it, not through luck, but through pure discipline and wisdom. So, that's the story of Arkad. But this isn't just some ancient tale. This final part is all about how these Babylonian secrets apply directly to you and me, right here, right now. You know, when Arkad's friends called him lucky, he totally disagreed. He used this powerful line to make a point. Opportunity isn't some random thing. He called it a haughty goddess that only shows up for people who have already done the work and are actually prepared. By saving his money and learning his lessons, Arkad was ready when his big opportunity with Algamish finally arrived. And here's the final advice Arkad gave his friends, which is a perfect summary for all of us. First, make this your mantra. A part of all I earn is mine to keep. Start with that 10%. Put that treasure to work. Make it your slave. Get advice from wise people. And finally, enjoy life. This isn't about being a miser. It's about building a solid foundation so you can live a richer, fuller life. Look, the principles that built fortunes in the ancient world are just as powerful today. They're simple, sure, but they are definitely not easy. They take discipline. They take purpose. So I'll leave you with the same thought Arkad left his friends. Opportunity is coming. The only question is, will you be ready for it?